obviously we're not going to be rock bouncing the Jeep. We never really did that in the first place. We just kind of, and everybody's got their own uses for their Jeep, so we are very mindful of what's inside of this. So that's just temporary, obviously, but this will definitely get the job done for a very long time. What's up, guys? It is late, but it is lit. I just got home from work. It's about 11 p.m. right now. I don't have like a ton of time to get this axle pulled out. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna try to get as much knocked out as I can tonight. That way, tomorrow evening I won't have to like be rushed or anything like that, because there's a good bit of stuff you have to disconnect. You know, you gotta mess with jacks, jack stands, stuff like that, all the fun stuff. So, but it is time to pull the Dana 30 and the EVO Truss, full EVO Truss. You know, we got seat gussets upper and lower. We've got, you know, the top pieces that go all the way across the tube, and the bridge pieces as well. So new ball joints are coming right there very soon as well. So these stock ones will not last very long once the heat gets to them, and they're stock as well. So I mean, with bigger tires, they're gonna wear out. So also, guys, this is not a descriptive how-to video. Basically, I'm gonna be taking you guys along for the ride because I do not have a welder. I have never welded before. So I will not be telling you how to install the truss itself. I'm just gonna be taking you along for the ride, you know, showing you the whole process of what's going on, how I do it, you know, pull the axle out, everything like that, you know, taking it there, just, you know, really what it takes basically to get something like this done if you guys want to do that as well. And I will be talking a little bit more about the truss that I picked and the reasons why I picked it too, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so the wheels and tires are off, self-explanatory stuff is out of the way. So basically I'm going to start with the simple stuff like disconnecting the sway bar right there. That way I can put the Jeep on jack stands and let the axle droop. That way I can start disconnecting the steering, control arms, stuff like that. I'll kind of do a time lapse and then show you guys after I get everything disconnected of the order that I went in. So the axle is supported by the jack currently. The frame is sitting on 2 jack stands. I do recommend that you do look up on the safety precautions, because there are a lot of things that can happen while you're doing this, because you are removing the whole axle. Just basically trying to stay clear of the Jeep or anything like that at all times. But yeah, before I lowered the axle completely, I went ahead and undid my shocks. That way that part is out of the way. Sway bar is disconnected, folded out of the way. So currently I am breaking the bolts loose on the drive shaft on the front connection where the pinion is. Those are blue Loctited, and those are pretty tough to get off. If you can't get those off, a torch heating up the Loctite does help. So after the drive shaft is disconnected from the pinion, I will go ahead and disconnect the drag link that's connected to the Jeep. So that should be one of the last things that's pretty much connected, other than the brake calipers, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then once that is all done, I'm going to support the axle. That way I can disconnect the control arms one at a time, get the bolts all out, and then take the axle on down to the ground. Another tip I want to give you guys is, if you are considering doing this, you might want to put the transfer case in 4-wheel drive. That way the front drive shaft locks and you can actually put leverage to torque on the bolts. Alrighty guys, there you have it. Dana 30 completely out, ready to be loaded up in the truck. So that wasn't really too bad, doing it by myself. You guys saw pretty much just a lot of stuff was kind of going on back under here, stuff that you couldn't really see the whole entire time. But basically it's about 12:40 a.m. right now. Started a little after 11, so you know, a little under 2 hours. You know, doing it by yourself is not too bad. Mainly just kind of went in order of self-explanatory stuff that kind of had a lot to do with what held up what. The Synergy track bar bracket will be coming out because the EVO track bar bracket that is welded on right here will be going in as part of the Truss kit, because the EVO Truss does not fit with this U-bolt right here. So that's about to come off really quick. Probably do that tomorrow since it's pretty late. All right, you guys can see that the drag link is zip tied up, track bar is zip tied up, shock, you know, all the hardware back where it goes in the original spots, calipers hung up there on the bracket, control arms, got those just dangling up there in their spots with all the hardware where it goes. Got the diff breather hose right here, just yank that off really quick. Got the drive shaft right there. That actually came off very easily. It was not seized to the actual pinion itself right here, so that just actually popped off a lot easier than most would have. And if I had an issue with that, I probably just would have stuck a sharper flathead in between right here, just kind of pounded that out. So the Jeep is sitting on these 6-ton jack stands right here. I've got my safety pins in here for extra security. Gotta make sure everything, no animals or anything are gonna be under here anytime soon. Probably put something else up here for extra support. It'll only be like this for like about 1 whole day, so we're good. So it's about 1 o'clock in the morning now. Just kind of getting some tools together so that way I have a fresh start of when I put the axle in a couple days from now. So I will catch you guys then. Okay guys, so it is the next day here. I got about an hour left until I have to take it to the shop. So a couple of small things. The welder suggested that I take off the rotors and the spacers, so that way it'll be less weight to transport and to kind of maneuver it around to weld it up. Also, the rubber bump stops, those are about to be coming off as well, and the Synergy track bar bracket. So I'm gonna get those off really quick and I'm gonna slap it in the truck and then take it to the shop. So that'll be it for stripping everything off the axle. The brakes and everything are over there on the side. This is how she is looking right now. I will see you guys in a couple seconds at the shop. You guys already know it's in the farm truck. We're gonna take this thing down the street real quick. So I'm gonna get started. I'm probably just gonna do a time lapse. I've been doing a few small things here and there, just kind of greasing up like the raw spots, like where some like my flip steer is, just stuff that I really can't get to, that paint won't hold on to, etc. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this time lapse of me putting the axle in. I will be doing a walk around clip after this, so stay tuned. Shortly you guys will see a walk around clip showing, you know, the whole details of the truss, and I will be talking more on it later. So the first thing I did was put the control arms in. That was kind of more of situating the axle with the jack stands underneath, sliding it back and forth in increments, as you guys probably saw in the time lapse. But I got the control arms in, set in, and torqued down first of all. And then after that, I put on the brakes. So I've got the brake brackets, the rotors, the spacers, and I will wait to put the calipers, the shocks, all the small stuff like the drag link. I will do that, save that for later, so that way I will have more room to put the springs in. That will be the next step. So just bigger stuff first, smaller stuff last, and then I will run the ABS line back up to the frame. There was a lot of stuff like bolting the drive shaft back up, getting those bolts nice and torqued, all that kind of stuff that was behind the axle that you guys probably wouldn't have been able to see. I did not include that in the time lapse because I didn't want to bore you guys, but I will be continuing the time lapse for stuff that you will be able to see, like the major stuff. I just finished up getting all the lines fed through. Everything is nice and tied up the way it should be. Everything's plugged back in. Brakes are back on both sides, shocks, everything like that. It's all good to go. Bump stops are in. And that should be it. Really, all I gotta do is just go back through and double check all the nuts and bolts and make sure everything is torqued properly the way it should be. And I will also redo that once I drive it for so many miles. The only thing left to do is to put my sway bar disconnects back in, which will be a little bit different because I did get rid of the raise right here, and that was also on the Synergy bracket that I did get rid of because of the new EVO track bar bracket itself. So those will have to be readjusted. That will be once the tires get back on. So everything else is squared away and it's ready to roll. Alright, so the truss is on, guys. I hope you enjoyed those clips of installing it, putting everything in, getting the axle in. You guys saw that it is possible doing it by yourself. You just need somebody to help you lift the axle in a vehicle like a truck or something and unload it, because the axle is very heavy to pick up by yourself. It's probably like a 2 or 3 person job to kind of like transport it back and forth. Other than that though, you can pull it, put it back in all yourself. Just find you a good welder who does the heating, the cooling processes, all the right things so that the axle does not warp or bend or anything, because that is very possible. I've heard of a lot of people that happening too. But yeah, we are about to upgrade the ball joints because those are stock. You know, they've got 80,000 miles on them. You know, bigger tires, the heat did not help either. So ball joints are coming soon. Probably gonna go with like Terraflex, something like that. And also a new tie rod because this one's stock. I just don't really trust it that much. Trying to take it to the trail here pretty soon. But yeah, the housing itself is, I've heard that it's about as strong or stronger as an aftermarket 44 axle. Some of you guys' opinions may vary, but it should hold up really good to, you know, kind of jarring it around on the trail. Obviously the gears and the differential on this axle are not the strongest, so we are going to be careful about wheel hopping, you know, when the tire comes off the ground and hits and stuff like that. So, you know, being careful on the skinny pedal. We don't like to abuse our Jeeps, you know, we like to use them, daily drive them and all that, so we should be good. So coming down here, you have the upper C gusset and the lower C gusset. You don't really need the lower C gusset as much, but you know, it helps with looks and it comes with the kit, so might as well. And then the upper one, we have it welded all the way right here and then all the way across on this top piece right here. So, you know, it goes all the way throughout. So my welder did a very good job of welding all the way throughout. This center section right here actually goes across the differential, and there's a cross plate that goes behind that. So you don't weld it to the actual cast itself. This all takes the load from the differential. So inside of these main pieces right here, we have bridges on the inside. So basically just like a steel plate running in the middle of that for extra support. As you guys can see, he did a really awesome job welding front and back. So we've got some extra support right here on the upper control arm mount, so that helps a lot. Also on the track bar bracket, this track bar bracket is raised 3 inches. That came with the kit. I did have the Synergy track bar bracket because I do have the flip steer drag link. So this new track bar bracket had to be welded on because the Synergy one has a U-bolt that goes around the axle tube right here, and that was not going to fit with this part of the truss, so we didn't want to modify that. So we just installed the one that came with it. And as you guys can tell, he did a beautiful job welding all that up as well. He did some extra welding that you didn't really have to do on the back side of it, under here, all back in there. So it's really, really strong and should not be going anywhere. So same thing over here, we have really good welds, beautiful welds all the way around, upper and lower, super strong. This is probably one of my favorite trusses on the market just because of how beefy it looks and the design about it, how it takes the load off of the cast on the differential right there. So that's a really cool design. All the extra support that's inside of the truss as well, those inner bridge pieces also help a lot. So this axle should not be bending any sort of type of way. Obviously we're not going to be rock bouncing the Jeep. We never really did that in the first place. And everybody's got their own uses for their Jeeps, so we are very mindful of what's inside of this. So that's just temporary obviously, but this will definitely get the job done for a very long time. For those of you guys wondering, we are not going to be upgrading the axle shafts just because we would rather not have a strong axle shaft and then leaving the differential the weak point. So if we do bust an axle shaft out on the trail, that is a lot more easier and cheaper to replace.